Hello, and thank you for joining the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of our board of directors and staff, we'd like to thank you for joining us today as we visit with 4 local ISD superintendents. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, and I want to welcome all of our guests. We've got approximately 30 minutes, and we are excited to have this opportunity to help parents who may be a bit anxious and also those students who are in our local area headed back to school. And so joining us today, we've got, as mentioned, 4 superintendents, including Dr. Kelly from Pearland, Dr. Goffney from Aldine, Dr. Dupree from Fort Bend, and Dr. Lathan from HISD. Thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Well, an exciting time, and also one that for, I'm sure, so many parents, very nerve-wracking. And for your teachers and staff, let me just begin by saying God bless each of you for making sure that our children are able to get back into the swing of things as best as we can with so many precautions that you guys have taken. I'd like to start with Dr. Dupree and Dr. Goffney of Fort Bend and Aldine, since you guys have already kicked off your school semester. So let's start with you all. Go ahead.
Good morning, Dr. Murillo, and thank you so much for having us this morning. As you just stated, we started school yesterday. Monday was our first day, and I did not sleep a wink on Sunday night because I was so anxious and so nervous. I knew our team had worked really hard to enter into this new normal, but I'm proud of the work. We had no major glitches, so knocking on wood, I got to go, and normally on the first day we go visit classrooms and go greet teachers, new teachers to our district, new principals, and this year we had to do it differently. We actually went to homes of some of our students who were learning, and they were excited to see us, and they had chimed in. Also had an opportunity to kind of drop in virtually and see how that was happening, and I was so proud. I've never, ever been more proud of the work that our teachers had done, because they have pivoted quickly. While we're trying to figure out how is this going to work, they've already figured it out, and I'm just so thankful, just so proud of the effort and everything that happened on yesterday for our first day. We had a great start, so thank you.
Well, that's wonderful news, and I'm sure all eyes are on these 2 school districts that have opened in our area. Let's go with the other school district that actually kicked off as well already in person.
Yes, in Fort Bend ISD, we had a typical first day of school. We had many things go wonderfully well. Our teachers were working so hard. I received text messages, phone calls, social media posts about how smoothly everything went, how well prepared everything was. And just as you would expect, I also received some emails and phone calls about how poorly things went in some areas. But that's typical, because we're always going to have a few bumps in the road. And especially if you think about the reality that in Fort Bend, we've got over 76,000 students, 6,000 teachers, all working remotely, trying to have school on this first day. We were well prepared for the glitches, which mostly were technology related, because we had some of our younger learners who had trouble logging on. We had some issues with different devices that did not want to work nicely with the technology we were using, the teachers had trained so hard in. But at the end of the day, what we found is most everybody was happy with their experience, and they were happy with the service that we provided. We had teachers and principals on campuses go the extra mile to make sure that students had their devices. We had our technology team had literally worked all weekend, 10 hours each day over the weekend, making sure students could log in and their devices worked. So overall, it was a great day, definitely a history-making day. We will all look back and talk about what this day was like in the future. It's definitely going to be a chapter in my book one day, but certainly I'm proud of our team in Fort Bend and all that they did to make the first day of school for our students so successful.
Well, congratulations. I know we look forward to updates on, what is occurring out in your school district. In the interim, I'd like to visit with Dr. Kelly over in Pearland. Tell us what you're seeing, and one of the things that's come up is technology, cybersecurity, and what we're doing to help protect children and families since they're going to be online. Tell us what's going on in Pearland.
Well, first, we begin school on August 31st, simultaneously with both a very, very slow phased-in approach for students who want to be on campus. And right now, that's less than 50% of our student body. And then simultaneously, as you alluded to, technology-wise, remote learners. We are in the midst of purchasing almost 22,000 devices so that everybody has one, whether they're on campus or remote, and basically learning on the same platform in the same way we think will vastly improve over what we were able to do in the spring. And maybe what we'll do is, as usual, we'll listen to superior districts like Fort Bend to see what they've done well and what they wish they'd done differently. And we have just a little bit of a window to do that over the next couple of weeks and so on. As Charles said, the beginning of school will not be perfect. My initial goal is that it be an improvement over what we were able to do in the spring, and that over time, over those first few weeks, we begin to just optimize this new landscape in front of us.
Thank you. And of course, representing HISD, Dr. Lathan, you've been on with us before. What has changed since the last time we visited with you? And also, what message do you have for parents who are torn between getting kids back at school and teaching them from home virtually? I think we are having some issues with your volume there. There we go.
So thank you, Laura, for having me on. We are preparing in HISD to reconnect safely and to return strong. Since we spoke last, we have been we've launched our Students Within Reach campaign, where we're trying to locate students that were not actively engaged in the spring and getting prepared for Tuesday, September 8th, which kicks off our virtual learning. I'm excited that I will not have any late buses that day, so that's one positive. So Charles, I know we can learn a lesson from you as it relates to that. But also we launched last week our parent virtual orientation course. So it is available for all district parents. If parents are in need of technology, I'm encouraging them to call 713-556-4636. We are working to get devices in all of our students' hands by Friday, September 4th. So that's our goal as we get prepared to launch virtually on Tuesday, September 8th.
Are you getting just tons of emails and requests and calls to your schools from parents trying to get more information, Dr. Lathan?
Yes, information around enrollment and registration. You know, we launched also on yesterday where parents could enroll online, but a lot of our parents are used to walking up to the school and actually walking in face to face. So all of our campuses are actually open and receiving parents, of course, on a physically distanced basis so that we can get students enrolled. But we are receiving a number of phone calls around technology and or requests for hotspots.
Oh, I bet. And I know that the philanthropic community and the corporate community are engaged with all of these school districts. And my message is we need more corporate community. If you're out there, support these school districts and others. They need your guidance. They need your support. And we know that we'll get through this together. It's a great county, and we've got phenomenal leadership here on this call and so many others that we've been talking to. So again, asking for additional resources to our schools. I want to go back to Aldine. Your district in particular has a very high number of immigrant students and families who do not have access to computers or internet. And even if they did, many would not know what to do with that technology anyway. What are some of the extra steps you're taking to prepare all students in your district?
Absolutely, that's a great question. It's probably been one that's been plaguing us since March when we had to pivot so quickly. And, you know, I think that was a time when everyone realized that there was a digital divide that we already knew. Perhaps the thing that we're most proud of is that we've ordered a device, so we'll end up having one-to-one. But the challenge has not only been getting our students trained, but also getting our parents. And so like Houston ISD, Dr. Lathan just alluded to, we launched a FACE department. Dr. Escalante has worked amazingly well. We've hosted meetings for all of our parents in both Spanish and in English. And our highest participation was over 500 parents for our Spanish speaking parents. And so long story short, every single Thursday, you're out there in Aldine and you're a parent and you have questions, every single Thursday, we will have parent meetings to learn how to help your students in this while we're in this virtual environment. So we're very proud of that. In addition, just like Houston ISD, every one of our campuses are open. When I went to go and visit one of the campuses yesterday, we had a dad coming in with his daughter. He said, I can't make this Chromebook work. And you know, there are times when I can't even make this work. So we certainly understand that. And the principal was able to help him right on the spot and he left. In addition, we recognize that our parents are working sometimes during the day. And so every single campus has a bus assigned to them. And so that bus is there for what we call Aldine Cares 2.0. So our cares teams, if a parent calls or a student calls and needs a device or needs food or needs something, then that bus is going out to help and assist those students as well. And so we try to think of everything because we recognize that this is unknown, but just like everyone else said, it's hard to make sure and be everything for everybody at once. But we try to create several different opportunities so we can support our parents during this time.
Well, I know one of the questions that I received when we announced that we'd be visiting with the 4 area superintendents was great. And parents wanting to know if something occurs where you have to go all virtual or you have to send kids back to school, whether or not these different districts are going to have a pass-fail, or is it going to be a letter grade? So I'll start with HISD. Are you going to stick to letter grading? Is it going to be a pass-fail?
Stick into letter grading, and I will tell you the student's first assignment. So this is the way they can make that easy 100 is there. We have actually 2 student courses that students will be required to take this year. Launching HISD at home. They have to take the HUB course, which is our learning management system course, and a COVID-19 safety course. So I'm helping them get 2 of their grades taken care of right away.
Very well. How about in Pearland?
Yes, I think probably echo some of the same things. You know, TEA has essentially dictated on that question anyway, so we're simply following that advice or that guidance, direction, dictate.
Yes. So same for Fort Bend and Aldine, I'll assume then, since it's a TEA mandate, correct?
Well, absolutely. In Fort Bend, really, what we want our parents to know is the promises we made before the pandemic are still the promises we're making today. We want our students to achieve their full potential, and that means a robust education. It means rigorous grading and feedback on the student progress. So absolutely, our students are earning grades this year.
So the other big question that we've received includes a question on tests such as STAR testing and other tests of that type. Can you tell us a little bit what you're going to be doing in Fort Bend?
So as you know, the state at this point is still continuing to plan to administer the STAR exam this year, although there's a move in the state to ask the commissioner to waive that another year. So I know that request is going to get louder and louder as we get into the school year because people are going to begin to see the reality of what students and their families are dealing with. I know in Fort Bend, our biggest effort, though, we acknowledge that last spring, all of our students lost about 9 weeks of instruction. So most all of our students have some form of a learning gap coming into this year. So we've set up schedules and structures to make sure that they're getting original new learning, but that we're also every day working to close those gaps through interventions to help them continue to move forward and make progress.
Well, thank you for that. And I know the other big question I received was around football, extracurricular activities, what the status, what this means for the athletes that have worked their entire academic career to prepare for college, etc. Let's start with the city of Pearland that is just a big hub for Friday night football.
Yeah. Well, the way that I put this when I'm asked frequently about it is that all systems are go from the UIL at present. I tend to think that high school athletics in Texas will eventually have to fall into whatever the colleges and maybe even the pros do. And thus, the more that we see of cancellations or changes in the schedules at those levels, the more likely that will in turn produce a UIL decision. But for the time being, it's all systems go in accordance with what the UIL is now allowing or permitting.
How about HISD?
Same as John just mentioned, we will follow the guidelines from the UIL. And I also want to go back to just previously the question about testing. I'm very excited that our board actually voted in this past spring on some emergency constraints and progress measures. And so we're prepared to actually administer our universal screener that will give us academic information on our students when they return virtually, of course. And we'll be monitoring academic achievement throughout the year, but very proud of our board for their leadership around those emergency constraints and what we normally call goals around student achievement or student outcomes.
Very good. Aldine, tell us what's going on there as it relates to sports and some of the other things that we may have missed.
As far as sports, we're going to be following UIL. In another conversation, Dr. Lathan and I, we both would have been probably head coaches in another job because we were incredible athletes. Don't ask us how. But we know our students come to school to participate in extracurricular activities, and we certainly want them to have that experience and the event and when the time when it's safe. And so, again, we're following all the protocols. But to go back to your previous question about grades, you know, and Aldine, one of the things that we have emphasized is the fact that we are prioritizing safety, but we're not sacrificing learning. And for us, it's a matter of continuing the progress that pre-COVID that we were so focused on achieving. And so we haven't lost sight on those goals or those priorities. And so we'll be having universal screening, and we recognize that we may have to pivot for any reason, but also know that learning has to occur no matter what the conditions are.
Well, I certainly want the opportunity for each of you to talk about what your particular school district needs from the state and from other elected officials. I'll start with HISD and Dr. Lathan.
I'll go back to, and all of us, all the superintendents on this call, we've been on a number of calls for the past 6 months. It's truly from the state, flexibility. All of our communities, you have 4 superintendents on this call, and we have 4 different unique set of circumstances. And so we need the flexibility if we need to continue with online learning, being able to receive, of course, full funding, but just the support of understanding that all of us, we want all of our children to receive a quality education, and that they needed to trust us to do that for our school communities. And of course, when our elected officials go back to Austin, whether it's virtually or face-to-face in January, that full funding continues not only for House Bill 3, but we receive additional funding separate and apart as it relates to technology. And so that's what we're needing in Houston ISD.
Dr. Dupree?
Very, very similar. You know, I'm so proud of the way our collaborative community has come around for Bend ISD. We've been meeting nutrition needs of our students. We've been meeting just personal hygiene needs for many of our students who have generous contributions. But when it comes to our elected officials, we need them to continue focusing on funding education to the full extent committed in House Bill 3, even as they have to make tough priorities. Connectivity is a major issue as well, making sure, because we have at this point over 4,000 devices in terms of hotspots distributed in our community. All students should have access to the internet as just a service, as it's just part of the cost of doing business in our country today. But as you asked about earlier, I do want to come back to the STAR test, in that I think we do need our legislators to take action to, if the commissioner is unwilling to do it, they need to compel him through legislative action to waive the STAR test at least for 1 more year and maybe 2 more years, because the impact of this pandemic is going to have lasting effects on our students, especially the students that are of greatest risk. And we just cannot ignore that, and we cannot just get back to the business of testing them and putting grades on schools based on that information as usual.
Dr. Kelly?
Yes, I'd like to echo what our other superintendent said there. Grenita mentioned flexibility, and I think that that's really important. If we are going to push local control, then we need the flexibility to do so. Within that flexibility, and I think Charles and Grenita would both agree, I do like the way that the state is basically doing hold harmless funding for the first 12 weeks of the school year, so that it can be compared to a previous 3-year average and all that. And so we're not hurt by this strange start to the school year. But I wish that would be extended for the entire school year, because it's very difficult to determine what our enrollment's going to be over the course of this very strange year. And then I'll differ a little bit from Charles on the STAR question. To me, it's not as important that we eliminate STAR for the year as it is to eliminate the accountability that goes with STAR. In other words, take the pressure off of the outcome of those tests, allow the test to continue if necessary, so that we have some kind of a marker about how the kids are doing. But this is not the year to use the normal accountability measures thereafter to grade schools and do everything else that accompanies those tests. Those are my thoughts anyway.
Dr. Coffey?
I can't speak enough about the flexibility and local control. All of our communities are different, and from day one, our guiding principle has been we're going to go as fast as we can, but as slow as we must. And in Aldine, and that's all I can speak for, it's red. Our communities are suffering. There's community spread. And so while we know that we have the first 8 weeks, and our board voted last night in case we need the additional 4 weeks, we have that. But then after that, we don't want any pressure to have to make a decision that is not in the best interest of our community. In addition, very excited about the support from the city, the county, and also TA to put a device in every student's hands. So within the next month or so, we will literally be one-to-one in Aldine, and that would have been unheard of pre-pandemic. And so as we think about moving forward, we don't want it to just be an act that's in response to COVID, but a new normal as we move forward, because we recognize those devices aren't gonna last forever. And so we're gonna need additional funding to keep those devices and then new devices in this new normal. And perhaps the last one I'll comment on, John, and what he just mentioned about the fact that enrollment, we have about 8% of our students that we are going out and making home visits and trying to find and get them connected. Because as Charles alluded to earlier, at the beginning of the year, you already have people who are waiting for Houston to start or waiting for any of our other neighboring districts to start before they come. And so we are going the extra mile to locate, but we definitely I would love to see it extended at least beyond this first semester and the whole year if we could. And so just a few things. And then of course, I think we should do everything we can to protect House Bill 3 in this new legislation, recognizing when you have a community of Black, Brown, and students of poverty, there are some unique challenges. And we were so excited about what the additional funding was going to do for our district. And we're still excited, but yet we understand with many things being uncertain that we hope that we continue to prioritize funding for public education in general.
So what we're hearing from all four of the superintendents on this call is local control and support, some changes around STAR, and certainly support around House Bill 3. Additional funding, of course, absolutely, for technology. Before we wrap up our call, I want to go back to Dr. Lathan at HISD as it relates to the group we've not talked about, the teachers, the staff. What can you say to us about the teachers and the staff, and what message do you have for so many of them who have family members that they have to return to at the end of the day after teaching our children?
And you know, that was one of the things actually we considered when we delayed the start of the school year and actually made the decision to operate virtually initially. And a very special thanks to all of our teachers. Just like the other superintendents mentioned, they've been involved in professional development. I am just enjoying seeing all their virtual classrooms. They are truly ready to go. But we're going to continue to monitor conditions and make the decision if we need to continue in a virtual format beyond the 6 weeks. Just like Dr. Goffney mentioned, our board is willing to support that, and we'll be actually presenting a resolution to them at our September meeting around additional weeks if needed.
Well, before we wrap up, we want to give each of you about 60 seconds final comments. So we'll start with Fort Bend.
Well, I just want to say thank you, first of all, Dr. Murillo, for having us today. And I want to close on what Granita said. You know, our teachers are the ones who make this happen. I mean, we have thousands of hours that have been invested in putting this plan together, but they're the ones who are bringing it to life. And I sent them a message on Sunday that said, I know everybody's anxious, everybody's concerned, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I reminded them, we're going to get from 1 hour to the next, one day to the next, and we're going to be successful because we're a team as an organization. We're a team from the boardroom to the classroom and in collaborative partnership with our parents and community. So we're very excited about the year ahead. We are going to fulfill the full potential for what we can offer our students, and I look forward to the outcomes of this very unique experience.
Thank you. And from Pearland ISD, Dr. Kelly.
Ditto, ditto, ditto on what Charles just said. I'll tell you, the guilt feelings I have are these. I feel like one of those staff generals that's behind the scenes and planning and putting everything together, but it is the soldiers on the battlefield that face the greatest difficulties. And so everything we're thinking about in the district is how can we make this the best environment possible for our teachers and staff members that are on those campuses. And that's the big if, and I hope we are able to meet that challenge.
Thank you so much. And to close us up with today's conversation regarding getting back to school, reopening, virtual and in person, we'll close out with Aldi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murillo, for having this conversation. And it's a great ending because, as I stated when I started, what has inspired me on day one has been the courage of our teachers and the amazing way that they brought our vision to life of we're prioritizing safety, but we're not sacrificing learning. And they have created new ways of reaching and teaching our students. And I'm incredibly thankful. I'm also just inspired. And I want them to continue to focus on the learning and engaging with our students. And we're going to prioritize safety in Bend Isd, as all of my colleagues have already alluded to. We recognize that our community is unique. And so we're going to go as fast as we can, but right now we recognize that we have to go slow. So just thankful for the partnership. Thank you, parents, for giving our teachers grace. Please, my grandmother used to have this saying, and it's actually her birthday today, that where there's unity, there's strength. So please, please support our teachers and give us grace as we go through this new way forward. Because I can assure you, parents, that our teachers have your students' best interest in mind. So thank you for your partnership. Thank you for the grace, and thank you for this opportunity.
Well, we appreciate the time that you spent with us today, superintendents from Aldi, Fort Bend, Pearland, and Houston. God bless you all for your work, and we thank all of the teachers and staff. On behalf of our board of directors, we'd like to thank you. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Please visit our website and follow us on social media. Have a great day. Stay safe all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.